It's trying to make sure it works.
It says we're live.
Yeah, lies.
You start on time, you have to do it the second.
All right, let's see here. Today's air conditioner.
Yeah.
If you would like to keep the air conditioning running, donate here.
Sunday, it is supposed to be 100 degrees in April.
I'm not okay with this.
Welcome to Texas.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. If you like coffee and you need coffee, somebody needs coffee.
Hey, I will say that King Harv's makes a nice iced coffee when it's 100 freaking
No.
degrees in April.
Iced coffee is an abomination unto nugget. King Harv's Imperial Coffees. If you order from them, let them know you heard about it from us. They are coffee providers. I would say coffee dealers, but that sounds bad.
But it's accurate.
It's very accurate. Straight into the veins, baby. tinyurl.com among the leaves tees for all your smartass t-shirt needs. Again, friend of ours, let them know you heard about it from us.
Royal Hawaiian Pineapple. Oh, no. Yep. We have guests. We have Peanut Gallery. We have multiple people here today. I was not supposed to be here, but
And yet, here you are.
And
I
yet,
was all prepared to be emergency holographic Jim.
I was prepared to have you as emergency holographic.
as it turns out, I had to get a consult
Oh no.
for a surgeon to do the laser karyotomy or cupulotomy.
Again?
Yes. And Ian is showing off his coffee cup.
I got a coffee cup from Ted Laura that I absolutely adore.
That is
Oh, by the way,
I might have to
the
fill it
peanut
twice.
gallery today is Ted, Laura, and Ben.
Yep.
And Cedar.
Yes, well, I mean, hey, I'm not gainfully employed. I may as well.
I beg to differ. You're the
What's that?
I thought this was going to be the ginger review.
I beg to differ. You are the graphic designer for Raconteur Press. I believe that's
I was having
somewhat gainfully employed.
I was having fun making memes. Oh hey, I get paid to make memes. There you go. Dream job.
Okay.
I'm doing a promo post on Substack today, and Sarah Clithrow sent me a promo square. And it is a young man and older gentleman on a couch looking at a book. And the title is, So if I mix these two components together, I get a bomb. And the other guy says, yes, son.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Common household cleaners.
You mix these two common household cleaners. Yes. It's like,
Yes.
I want to run with it, but Frank is going to lose his liver
Yeah.
again.
Livers regenerate. He'll be fine.
It's fine then.
Now, Laura is wearing a Royal Hawaiian Pineapple shirt from the North Shore of Oahu. And I used to have to drive through the Dole Plantation every day going home.
Does it smell like fermenting pineapple?
Yes, it did. However, it no longer exists.
It's a gift shop with a train.
Yeah. And it's a very small gift shop. It used to be probably 20,000, probably 5,000 or 6,000 acres of pineapples.
Mhm.
And it's all gone. They've got the farmhouse, which was the plantation, has been turned into a gift shop. And they have the little train that they used to haul the pineapples on.
Mhm.
And that's it.
They have a maze.
Well, they got a maze now too.
Oh, they do?
Pineapple
Oh,
maze?
good God.
How big are those pineapples?
They're amazing.
Our postman just had his face pressed up against the glass door with a kid at a candy store, and I'm a little worried about him. Oh. Just a little worried.
Yeah. So, in other news, before we get into the good stuff,
There's good stuff.
yes, the Army is recoding, that are known as reclassifying, 20,000 parachutists in a major restructuring of the airborne forces. So, these people will remain on jump status, but they will no longer be required to jump. Yeah.
So we're going to lock down airborne billets for people that don't have to jump and won't get to pay.
Limited aircraft availability has resulted in an overall quote unquote decline in collective airborne proficiency. Of note, the last large parachute jump was Normandy in World War II, which was 13,000 parachutists. So why do we have 56,000 Army parachutists?
China.
We don't have the airplanes to drop them.
Not yet.
We won't have
They
by the
don't have
time
to
it
be
comes
good
out.
airplanes. They're actually going to jump out of them. Like,
Slap really hard.
Usually the pilot stays inside though.
That's one more paratrooper on the ground.
Yes, and today is also the anniversary of the loss of the USS Thresher, which was one of the first, was the first nuke sub we lost. And there's an interesting report coming out about the Titanic based on different set of analysis that it did not gracefully break into, but it was in fact blown into.
Which a lot of us kind of figured.
Yeah.
Given the stresses, given the energy and stresses present, the gentle, graceful breaking never made much sense to me.
Yeah.
A lot of fire, a lot of heat hitting.
Well, that
26
also
degree water.
supports the fact that the engineers and the stokers stayed at their job.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that would cause the explosion was the water hitting the steam boilers that were at pressure.
26 degree water, 26 degree Fahrenheit water hitting
Yeah.
Yeah.
red hot boilers will do
Yeah.
that. Side question, Ian, how do airborne handle it if they have to use a bathroom on a jump? Go before you got in the plane.
Otherwise, there's this rain when you're coming down.
There is a bathroom in the back of a C-130. But unshipping all of that gear to fit in there, and then if you happen to hit the wrong valve, is suboptimal. Go before you leave. Then go after you hit the dirt.
Statements that are clear understatement.
Space Marines lawsuit incoming from Games Workshop in 3, 2, screw y'all. Who's in peanut gallery today? We got Ted and Laura Bagley. We got Ben Hunsicker, and the rest of us normals. Normals.
No one
Yes.
told you like that. Not normal.
Normals is setting on a dishwasher. So, it's Thursday, right?
Yes,
Okay, it's Thursday.
half a day and half the night.
It's Thursday.
I almost refer to them as normal with a straight face. True, Don. Hey, Cyber Luddite.
Thursday all day today. I had something.
And why do you do
Squirrels.
this?
Glow stick. Fuck. It was right there. It was important. It was interesting, and now it's gone.
Yes, RK and Makaido are planning to come up for Fool's Con this weekend. That's great
this
news.
is Fool's Con weekend, by the way.
That's why we have some of the guests that are in town today. For something that wasn't supposed to start till Saturday morning.
This is like Liberty Con. I think it's for Thursday.
Right.
Rising fiction.
Yeah, we stay in the top 10.
Okay. So you want to announce what's coming out tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow is
Sunday.
Storm Dragon drops. We've had it open for pre-orders for
Tomorrow's the 11th already.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited.
No, I'm very excited about this. And Dave has been doing basically a blog tour.
he has marketing blitz.
Yeah. Keep an eye open this evening. Raconteur Press scored something that no one else has ever been able to do. And we have a video interview with Dave Freer.
Oh, yeah.
There is no other
No.
interview like this with Dave. So this is going to be very special because Dave was one of my mentors. So Dave and I,
That explains so much.
Dave and I have known each other for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how excited I am that we're actually doing this with one of his books.
Yeah.
Because the man's a brilliant writer. I mean, from the first book of his that I read, which was Rats, Bats, and Vats, I have known that he was something special. And the fact that a lot of my writing, I mean, he's the one that taught me how to foreshadow, or rather, how not to foreshadow and fix it. And
We all have a problem with that.
so my writing owes a debt to his guidance and pointing me off of the wrong paths.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that we're getting to do this. I'm happy that we're getting all kinds of momentum on this pre-order. And I know a lot of people, because I've been answering this question a lot, want to know about the paperback book, and it will be available on the 11th, tomorrow, evidently, since I've lost track
I'm
of
going
my
to get
days.
a Louisville Slugger. And I'm going to write, we can't do the paperback with pre-order, but it will be available in raised lettering so that when I smack somebody,
Well,
the bruising will read.
okay, so we've done a
That means you got
novel.
to do it backwards.
Uh-huh.
We've done a novel and a children's book. Our readers are just learning right along with us. They'll learn and then they'll know.
Pain is a great learning experience.
We're gonna train them up all summer. So
What time will interview be? Lisa has pre-recorded it, so she's editing, and she's new at this. Let her edit. She's new at this. She's editing it, and I think she said up this evening, some-ish.
This evening, let's not set a time on it because she's
Some
got other
ish.
stuff she's got to do too.
So
Lisa has a life outside of Rack Press.
Yeah.
Quelle surprise. How are we allowed to do this?
I don't know.
She is
Other
learning that
people
maybe
do.
she should have chosen another group to
Right.
tie in with.
Laura's sitting here as one of my newest editors, and I'm pretty sure it hadn't quite sunk in that might not have been her best acceptance she ever made.
I am enjoying it.
We're
For
very
now.
grateful for you.
For now,
Oh.
John is now saying 7-ish. Yeah, we'll see.
We're aiming for 7-ish because that's what she said.
Yeah.
Got it done. But
Yeah.
give
I
us some time to make sure all the tech is ready.
I come out of the small unit special iffy, and it's like it's going to be sometime this evening.
Yeah.
I don't like nailing down because the gods of special operations hate it when you make
That's the ish.
Yes.
ish. It'll be this evening.
Tom says, I'm 3/4 of a mile from Louisville Slugger right now. What do you want?
And Tom's not going to be here this weekend. Darn
I
it.
know.
Well, he had prior
Oh, no.
engagement last
Gosh,
weekend.
I know. He's been all over the place, poor
Yeah.
man.
If
He needs to be home, rest for a while.
if he was somewhere near the Texas Bourbon Trail, it would be a lot easier for him to get here.
Oh. Not going there.
Wise man. One of these days, that very large bear is going to separate my head from my shoulders.
And it will be well deserved.
Probably. Let's see. We've got Storm Dragon coming out. Do we have an Antho coming out?
No,
Not this week.
Next week.
Next week.
Magic Malfunctions next week. You probably want to get Magic Malfunction because the editor for it is also the author of our second novel. And if you want a taste of the world that he's writing in, we have several anthologies that Wally wrote for that the stories were based in this world he's created. And it is a unique, wonderful little world, guys. This one's going to be
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
this one's going to be good. This is going to be. I think this is. Yeah, it's a unique world with. It's close enough to standard fantasy that you'll recognize it, but Wally put his own squirrely little spin on things, and it's going to be really good.
That's one word for it.
Yeah, I've been having fun doing the cover for it because. So y'all may have noticed that Raconteur Press has a look.
No,
But I have
Across
somewhat
across the hall. That's a cedar cover.
I have deliberately been evoking the golden age of books and reading with our covers. And for Wally's novel, I've actually moved forward in time a few decades because, and Wally hasn't seen the cover yet, so we're not going to tease it yet. You'll all get to see it probably next week.
He's on the
sometime.
road. He won't see it.
Well, no, but I want to show him first. That's the fun part.
Oh, we do that? Shit.
Sometimes. But it's like the covers of, and while I was researching this, because last Tuesday, it was just Tuesday, we were talking about the Belgariad. And I went and looked at those covers because I had been noodling around with what I was doing for Wally's cover. And I had the art pretty nailed down, but the layout, the fonts and everything are really important on a book cover. So I was like, oh, we were just talking about the Belgariad. I'll go look at the Belgariad covers. The modern Belgariad covers are not great.
No.
Because the current trend in fantasy is
It's terrible. It's god awful.
it's really, really simplistic. It's like clip art and font.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm not doing this. Because every time I'm covering a new book, especially if I'm in a subgenre I don't work in very often, I do a lot of research. I go and I look at the bestsellers on Amazon, and I look at what's trending, what's popular, and I usually am trying to use that as an idea of what's selling, so I can give the readers expectations of what's in the book that they may not even consciously realize I'm doing. I really do not like the modern fantasy trend covers. So then I went back and I looked at the original books, which were published in, like, I'm going to get this wrong, like the 70s and 80s. Yeah. So then looking at a couple of other fantasy series that were originally published back in the 70s and 80s time period.
Millennium. You did look at the Millennium.
So things like the covers for those tended to be more classical painting style, but still fantastic elements. Larry Elmore does brilliantly stuff like that, and there's a couple of other
talk about
artists.
spotting an artist across the hall.
Like Tom says, Cedar inspired by Boris Vallejo.
So our tiny town little library startled me yesterday. I walked into the book sale and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to find anything. It's day 4 of the book sale. I wasn't able to get in earlier because I was out of town. And I don't know how much new stock they get for every sale because they do this, twice a year? Yeah. So I'm like, I'll just poke around. Well, they've got more bookshelves and they've actually cleaned everything up and have it all nicely shelved and organized, which is nice. No more books all over the floor, boxes of books on the floor. And I'm crouched down looking at the bottom shelf on one of the nonfiction bookshelves in the back corner there. And there is a stack of very geeky art books.
Really?
Yes. So I just collected a book that's a collection of Frazetta, a collection of Vallejo, another book by Vallejo that's like a specific collection that he put together. I haven't had a chance to look at it too much. And 2 books that I bought that will either get given to a friend or donated to the auction for Pecan because they're worth some money.
Yeah.
And I just grabbed those immediately. And here I am with my little $5 bag of books. But I just like, you never know where you're going to find really amazing art stuff.
Robert says the modern cover for Dan Simmons' Hyperon is bland and lifeless.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of the modern covers are. And I don't know if it's because they're not spending money on artists, which I have to imagine is a big part of it, especially when you're talking about backlist, even for classics that sell well. They're not spending money on artists. And the modern trend for cover design is trying to be as inoffensive as possible. And that's how you wind up with gray goo.
Yes, Kermit, it's Vallejo. I know.
Vallejo.
My Spanish sucks. And Nancy goes, wow, Cedar score.
Yeah. No, I was excited.
Of course, then you get the other side of the Cedar cover, or you make a wise ass comment about covering it in brown paper.
So she does.
With a coffee stain because it's Jim.
And that's the cover. Oh,
I'm
by
just-
the way, thank you to those people who did finally put reviews up and get me over the 50 count. I did
Yay.
appreciate that very much.
Yeah, look, what he's talking about is his collection of short stories, brilliantly titled short stories, with a brown paper cover, so you don't have to worry about your mother seeing what you're reading.
I decided not to use vignettes again because I don't need another 1 star for that.
It's a collection of short stories.
Yeah. And I've almost got enough to do another one
I didn't
too.
realize it was a brown paper bag. I thought it was a secret file, another file.
We can go that way because it's Jim.
I'm just,
Brown paper bag is more effective.
I'm just remembering that I forget who did the albino knife series, but he had covers by Luis Royo.
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Luis Royo, Michael Whalen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the guy with the mermaids. Darn if I can remember his name. He
And-
just recently died.
Luis Royo,
Todd Hamilton's underlayer, but wow, his work was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Luis Royo is one of those you can spot across the room, and most of the time not safe for work.
Mhm. Oh my
Even
gosh,
his
yes.
safe for work stuff is nudges right up on the edge. But
Yeah.
man, that's a glorious cover.
Yeah. So Ben Yallow, bless his heart.
Steve Perry, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ben Yallow costs me money every time we get to sit down and really talk.
It costs me money every time he talks to
I
Rita.
had bought a book for reference purposes, and it just brand new release.
Yeah.
I'd actually had a delayed release, and Amazon was like, "Do you still want this?" And yes, I do. But it's by Rian Johnson, and it's retro science fiction and fantasy covers,
Yeah.
book covers. And Ben, when he was up last, was at my house and saw it and suggested that I look for the collection of art and artists that was put together by Vincent DeFate. So I promptly bought myself a copy of that, and it came in, and it's just amazing because everybody knows. I mean, we obviously know the names of some
Yeah.
of the covers, but there's covers that I can call to mind that
Yeah.
I don't immediately remember the name of the artist. But going through and finding some of the more obscure art and artists and finally putting names to the artwork that you recognize is really kind of cool to do.
Yeah.
And it's great for me to look at all this because then I can take that and it trains me what I'm wanting to put in on the
Yeah.
covers for things.
Well, and Kermit referenced semi-jokingly my Gray Man series,
Mhm.
which other than the basically the windmill was all doors.
Yeah.
But my graphics artist and her husband, who is also a graphic artist,
Mhm.
are out of Philadelphia. They're both graduates of Philadelphia School of Art. So she took my brain dumpings and turned those into a series of covers
Yeah.
that went very well with the books. And most of them had Easter eggs in the covers. Very few people know that. Very few people have caught it.
Yeah.
The ones that have basically come back and went, "You asshole." It's like, yes, got another one.
And I mean, and there's something to be said for covers like that are they look simple, but they're
Yeah.
not. There's more going on there. And one of the things I used to say is that you don't want your art on the cover to be too complicated because 90% of your readers these days are finding their books on a small device and they're seeing a thumbnail.
Yeah, and a
Me-
thumbnail. Yeah, if you have a complicated cover,
Mhm.
and this is something that we preach every time we teach basic indie publishing.
Self-publishing.
You do not want a complicated cover because it blurs together.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've been learning is you can have a complicated cover, but you need to be very careful with composition and contrast.
Yeah.
Because you always want the title to be readable at thumbnail size. So it needs to be able to have, it needs to pop off the art,
Right.
basically. Art, author's name, it depends on the author. We're going away again from the trend of making the author's name bigger. But I also see people that are trending too far in the other direction where the author's name is too small.
Yeah.
And I had an author I was doing a cover for. It's her first book. And she was like, "Oh, don't make my name very big. Nobody knows who I am." And I'm like, "But they're going to."
Yeah.
So we want your name bigger. So then what you've got is, by the time you've got the title is readable at thumbnail and the author's name is either readable at thumbnail or very close to it, you don't have a huge amount of real estate left for the art itself. So when I was doing Wally's cover, I was asked why I don't have more people on
Yeah.
the cover. And because I need to have space on there for other things. And because I'm channeling the retro fantasy covers, which had the art, but they also had framework and curly cues and
Yeah.
such.
Eddie's. Eddie's.
But it's a thing, and I want to evoke that feeling of reading really great.
But what you have to remember is that was all done when people bought books in the bookstore.
Mhm. Yep.
Not when they were looking at a thumbnail.
Yep. It is still possible, but
Yeah.
it does take a lot more effort than people realize.
Yes.
Takes quality design work.
And this is one of the reasons that when I do, I just recompiled a bunch of links from Mad Genius Club.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you're going to be doing your own covers, if you are going to be in a position where your publisher actually asks your opinion on your cover, which does occasionally happen.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to be in a position where you're hiring someone to do covers for you, you need to know the principles behind. So any author should be looking at the principles behind cover design, and I've written on Mad Genius
Right.
a number of times about it. But what I don't teach is I don't teach the complicated stuff because I see so many bad covers.
Yeah.
And I don't want that for them because it's especially right now, it's so easy to do a good cover that will do the job. And so there's no excuse for bad covers.
Well, and Robert Cruz brings up a good point. Some things you know who it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you put a white beret and a kitty cat,
It's going to be Honor Harrington.
it's going to be Honor
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes. Well, that gets into the art and what the art of a book is, which is not a scene from the book. It is a meta image that's intended to encapsulate the whole book in one image. And if you make it too complicated, if you try to faithfully replicate a scene, if, God forbid, you try to faithfully replicate a scene that is the climactic point of the book, and you're putting your spoilers right out in front of everybody. I have been asked to do that. So those are the things that you should not do.
So what you're saying is that my Western Showdown at the River, I should not have used that cover.
No, because it was still, it was not so explicit and specific that it was giving anything away.
And it looks like a generic
It
Frederick
looks
Russell
like a
painting.
Western.
Well, as a Western artist, so yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
I love that cover.
much better than the other one. That was when I decided I was not going to try to do anything like what Cedar or Sarah or any of the other ladies do, because my quote unquote attempts at artwork don't friggin' work. And I have other things to do than try to sit there and play with the covers.
I'm a thug, not an artist. Moving on.
Well, and the thing is, though, that you understand what you do need in a cover.
Yeah, I need
And
Cedar to
because-
do a cover for me.
Yeah, well, and I've worked with Jim on covers before, too. The short story collection covers for a couple of the library anthologies. And part of the reason that I'm very hesitant about taking on new clients as a graphic designer is because of the time and aggravation to train them.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a
Some of them are
point where I
trainable.
want to just say, no, I'm going to do your cover my way, just shush.
That is exactly the same conversation that I had with Tina and with her husband, Joe. They are in the same boat because there are people that they will not work with.
Oh yeah. Now I've got a couple of clients that are on my
The
not working with them
NFE
again.
list.
Whew.
It's not a matter of payment, it's a matter of the back and forth.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
I've had clients that I fired after like the 10th change request.
Yeah.
And I was like, now that's why in my contract now for ebooks for covers,
Yeah.
it's like 4 changes, minor changes.
No, no. When I first started, I didn't. Other publishers that I was chatting with in back rooms were talking about the NFE list.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask what NFE was. It's one of those arcane publishing things. Turns out the NFE is not fucking ever. Everybody's got one.
yeah, at least one.
And there's an NFE list.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a locksmith around us. If you help, $35. If you watch, $20. If you let me do it,
Yeah. Yes.
There was a firearms instructor I was rather fond of, and he had on the back of his classroom was a boyfriend's $50 extra.
Yeah.
Boyfriend's helping $75 extra. If I have to correct your boyfriend's teaching, $100 extra.
He didn't charge me extra, but I felt bad because the poor plumber that came and fixed my hose bib the other day, at one point I came out to check and see
Yeah.
if he was doing okay. And he's like, he was parked in the driveway. So he's like, do you need me to move? And I'm like, no, I'm just making sure you're okay.
Yeah.
But when I was helping him with finding the water meter and the water access to shut off the water to the house, because I don't know if this is a Texas thing, but there is no valve to just switch off the water to my entire house unless I go to the main
Yep.
Yeah, it's a meter.
and have to have a special tool.
Yep.
But he opens, first we find the hatch, which mud had gotten on top of. And he pulls it open carefully, telling me as he does so that he frequently finds snakes in these.
Yeah.
And then the bottom of it, you couldn't even see the meter. It was all filled in with dirt and everything. So he's trying to dig it out with his hand, and I handed him my hori.
Yeah.
And his eyes got so big. I mean, he used it because that's what it's meant for, but
Yeah.
it looks like a very large knife.
It is a very large knife.
It is not just a Texas thing.
Okay, that's good.
Robert says, mind you, nonfiction is different. Good point. If you're doing a book on Iwo Jima, use the flag raising and Suribachi.
Suribachi.
That's a given.
Oh yeah, nonfiction covers are a whole different kettle of
Yeah.
There are not. Okay, this has come as a surprise to a whole bunch of y'all. In nonfiction, very few spoilers.
depends on how young you are.
Yeah. Well,
and how well you know that bit of history.
I've blown up some history before.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how much stuff is coming out now from World War II, not only on the American side, but on the British side, that is literally upsetting the historic apple cart.
Yeah. The book that I recently was reading about the SOE
Yeah.
and the whole, because the movie, The Ministry of Anti-Gentlemanly Warfare, which I have not seen and I will not see, but there's a couple of books that are about that kind of thing. And evidently they sat on classifications from stuff that happened in World War II because they felt that the special operations was applicable to warfare afterwards, and they didn't want to give away secrets.
Right.
So they didn't declassify stuff for a really long time, and I guess it's just starting to come out now, or the last few years anyway.
there were a lot of secrets during World War II at a 75-year seal.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and some were age of plus 75.
Yeah.
75-year seal, and so there a whole bunch of them are popping now.
And some of them are just, some of the finds are just odd. You know, finding Turin's original work in the walls where it was used as insulation.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Turing.
Yeah.
During the Enigma.
Yeah.
Was it Enigma?
Yeah.
Enigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, his actual work, they used it for insulation in the walls of a house.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing that we find stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like the
It's right. We had to sift through rat poop to find it.
yeah.
Well, and somebody knew what it was when they were looking at
when I
it.
found
Yeah.
it.
and I can't remember, it's Ohio, somewhere up in that area. The people bought an old house. They're in the process of tearing it down.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to what was the back porch area and start pulling the walls down. And they find A-Sheets movie posters going back to the 1920s
Neat.
that are in perfect shape.
Yeah.
They were
those are-
used as insulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they start digging back and find out the owner of the home in those days was the manager of the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So he was taking these A-Sheets down, taking them home and putting them up on the wall to insulate the wall.
Yeah.
Like you did.
I mean, let's
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of A-Sheets.
the thing is the ephemerals.
Yeah.
With posters like that, and other things. Those are the hardest to find and recreate now because they were never meant to be kept.
Yeah,
I mean, if
exactly.
you have some beautifully crafted woodworking or a piece of jewelry or something, those were meant to be kept and treasured and passed down as heirlooms. But stuff that was meant to be disposable,
Yeah.
that's the hard stuff now.
Yeah. I've
So-
got 2 original A-Sheets that go back to the 70s. And I've got 1 piece that goes back further than that.
Yeah. I did a book review on my Substack today of a couple of there's a collection that's all linked together as a series on Amazon, which is handy. Of it's called the British Classics Library, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And their pricing is weird because some of them are affordable and other ones are insane for old books.
Yeah.
But some of them are in Kindle Unlimited, so I've been doing those. But one of the novels references an earlier book that stars the same characters. And to the best of my ability, that book does not, I mean, it's been out of print for 80 years. And it's definitely not an ebook. So it's really fast how you can lose things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because here it is, this novel. I mean, I'm assuming there were some print and you could probably find a print, but it didn't even come up in just a cursory search. And even though this novel is available in ebook, the other one, who knows?
Yeah.
One of the things I love to do, my Rita loves estate sales.
Mm.
She loves estate sales like tornadoes love trailer parks. I'll go there because she'll be going through there like a cute little tornado, and I'll head for the books.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll page through the books looking for letters,
Yes.
postcards.
Yes.
I have found letters from then editors, later famous publishers, to Wagner heirs in books.
Yeah.
It's just wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And those kinds of things, I mean, if you're buying books from book dealers, they take that kind of stuff out.
Yeah.
Because they're interested in the book. I was really thrilled one time I ordered a batch of cookbooks on eBay. And when they came in, one of the cookbooks had all the stuff the lady had left in it. And it hadn't been touched since like the 1960s. But newspaper clippings and her own little notes on napkins and stuff. And those are treasures.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
this-
personal.
Well, and it's like, you talk about ephemera, the battle flags from World War II,
Mhm.
USS Barton. That's probably the most famous submarine battle flag.
Mhm.
It is the only one that has a train on it.
All right.
And
Mm.
here we go with Jonna.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Ephemera from World War II.
Yeah, World War II stuff.
This is fake bills. Feel free to show them off.
But those battle flags,
Keep talking, Jim.
those battle flags hang in Subgroup 7 or Subgroup 6's office in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So you will never be able to see them unless you have clearance to get in the building.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be few and far
Yeah.
between.
But to them, that's their history,
Mm-hmm. And it is.
and it is.
And it should be valued and preserved as
Yeah.
such. The reality is that most, if not all, museums can't possibly display everything that they have.
Oh yeah.
And there's still discoveries being made of things that were accessioned into the collection, stuck in a box in the basement, and left there for 150 years. And I'm not actually exaggerating.
Those are big,
Um,
big, propaganda bills stuff over,
Johnny says those are fake propaganda bills that were dropped.
Yeah. The same thing happened with one of Johann Bach's compositions.
Mm-hmm.
It was found by accident in a box with his papers.
Yeah. And there's a book that I've been working on reading for a while, but it's basically exploring museums and discovering new species of animals.
Yeah.
Because things got collected in mass, and they sent crates and crates and crates full of specimens back to museums,
Mhm.
and
Got stacked in corners.
it got
Yeah.
stacked in corners, and now they're going in with like DNA and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out what the heck they actually have.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting book. It's just dry as all get out, so I don't get very far through it.
There was a
Dawn brings up a good point too. She says, and I've seen them. They have ration books and ration stamps in the basement from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
there was a Facebook meme went around about 6 months, maybe a year ago, about how a famous composer, they found another composition.
I think that was one he was just talking
Yeah.
about with
Was it-
Bach.
Yeah.
Was it
Bach,
Bach
Yeah.
or Mozart?
Yeah.
And it was like, Bach or Mozart's new single drops before Martin finishes The Winds of Winter.
There's a YouTube channel, and I haven't really watched a whole lot of it, but there's a YouTube channel that basically specializes in old emergency rations and military
Yeah.
rations.
Oh yeah.
And they open these things from like 50, 60, 100 years ago. And I'm like, please don't eat that. Please don't eat that.
Don't lick it.
Yes, do not lick it. Do not lick the history.
There is
Shit, it's good.
there's actually a fairly useful. I love archaeologists. I do. I understand them. There's actually a fairly useful little, especially popping up, of folks on the TISM scale going over Google Earth like this,
Oh,
and
yes.
and finding stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of different YouTube channels where either they will just kind of explore and focus in on different spaces, or they'll find a location and then actually go to it
Yeah.
and film what it looks like there, which is it's fascinating, and
Yeah.
it's very much that explorer thing.
You've got these basement dwellers that don't
And-
handle people well.
And these days that you have access to the LiDAR maps, which
Yeah.
is like, those are just mind blowing of
Who
what you
will
can see.
go grid share by grid square over in the entirety of Google Earth and are finding wonderful things. I remember the archaeology world was, I realize it doesn't get out, but the archaeology world was just up and was having a party because somebody in his mother's basement who exists on ding dongs and chicken tendies had gone over the Sahara with a fine-tooth comb by way of Google Earth
Mm-hmm.
and found an entire port city in the Sahara.
Yeah. We have amazing
That was
tools.
not on Google Earth.
And
Oh, this one's on this.
Well, he got the direction from something else.
No. Anyway,
but this is the thing, which is there's so much information. It's a huge planet, people. And not enough people to pay attention to everything because we have other stuff to do, like feeding people and
Yeah.
making the world go round. And
but they found it. They found a lake that everybody knew this lake had been there at one time. But this kid crawling over Google Earth found an entire, like a 50,000 person port city with docks that
Mhm.
nobody knew was there.
Yeah.
And now-
With dungeons.
And now it's yeah. Now you got archaeologists crawling all over.
Yes, Alan, we know not all of you live in the basement.
So, okay, I keep catching memes of it, but I haven't dug into it. What's with the columns under the Great Pyramid? Do we
Oh,
know?
Here we go again.
Archaeologist here.
Sorry,
okay, guys.
I must have missed the earlier rant.
No, I've
Go ahead.
I've been staying away from this.
I'm
Oh.
gonna just sit back and watch.
Okay.
We've lit the fuse.
So, some folks hauled off, and I won't say they're flat earthers, but they're in the same general.
Aliens.
Aliens built the pyramids using mammoths. Anyway,
Earthers around the world.
yeah, flat earthers around the world unite. Decided to do some narrow band radar under the pyramids on Giza Plateau, and got back noise. And because they're humans,
They saw patterns in the
they
noise.
saw patterns. And these patterns are obviously springs and rooms and columns that are 180 stories deep.
I'm assuming by springs you don't mean water springs?
No, doingy, doingy, doingy. Shock absorbers for the pyramids.
Ancient Egyptian slinkies.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
thank
was
you.
thinking Flinky.
Now,
Oh,
springs, some of them are saying they're spiral staircases going down. No, they're friggin' noise.
like I said, I hadn't even bothered to go further than I just keep seeing memes making fun of it. I'm like, what the heck?
It's like, look what we found. I'm looking at, yeah, that's noise, all right. No, see the column, see the rooms, see the carving.
So what you're saying
It's a
is,
pixel.
what you're saying is we have pogo pyramids.
Yes.
Apparently, for some reason, the pyramids needed shock absorbers.
So when they landed, they didn't break.
And,
They're load leveling. When they brought them in and they posited them, they could load level.
and they have spirals
Oh,
outside the
God.
columns because you can totally see that. Yes, it's friggin' noise.
Ben, you're gonna get a whole new generation started on that shit.
It is several 100,000 tons of pyramid on dirt for several thousand years. And look,
Compaction happens.
it's
Nancy, there is an entire sub out there on Reddit
Look,
and some other
it's
places.
a room half a mile down. No, it's not.
These people are not geologists.
And even if they were, we want to see things.
Yeah.
We're
And
humans. We
and
see patterns and
and
noise.
Yeah.
Because it kept us alive when the night was full of critters with appetites. Spotting patterns kept us alive.
I think part of it too is that we're desperate for something new and exotic. So
Well, I don't know about that. The other
That's
meme
the
that always
temple in
made me
Port City.
laugh was the discovery of this black sarcophagus, and everybody in the comments is going, "Do not open that. We know what happens."
Well,
did you not watch the Mummy?
no,
What's
that's
Carving
the
You?
one in 2019 that the sarcophagus is full of red stuff,
Right?
and there were people bidding to get a cup of it to taste.
Okay, well, this would not be the first time that people
Explains-
ate mummies
It explains a lot about 2020, doesn't it?
and the Victorians because they
Yeah.
did eat mummies.
Boy, did
They prescribed
Yeah.
mummies as medication. They also used mummies as paint.
and makeup.
Mummy brown was a thing.
Yes. Okay, they did narrow aperture radar, and they got a bunch of noise from bedrock,
Yeah.
and read columns and springs and complexes like stupid levels of meters deep.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this complex rooms obviously proves that the ancients were advanced enough to build an entire city complex 3/4 of a mile down.
Yeah.
Or, stay with me here, you're reading bedrock noise.
Because different rock gives shadows.
Well, the funny thing
Question
is,
is,
there's
are you looking for truth or fun?
Yeah.
It's not Occam's razor. It's what's more interesting instead of what's simpler.
Yeah, well, like Difford says, the bottom of the ocean is available for study. The problem is,
nominally.
y'all don't realize how small the footprint is on the side scan sonar.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have limits as to how deep they can go.
Right.
And I'll go one further. There are a great deal of really interesting subterranean cities. There
Yes.
are, and that's my jam right there. Subterranean cities. Cappadocia in Turkey is. I passed through there, didn't get to stop. Really wanted to stop. Anyway, however,
There is
If you're-
one down in the
if you're on
Caribbean too.
freaking Facebook, this one pops up, and it's a map of Cappadocia, and it's very complex, and it's from a freaking D&D dungeon.
Yeah.
I know this because my players hate that dungeon, and I use that map a lot. And I'm looking. Look, the wonders of Cappadocia. No, that's the Dungeons of Dread. And people are going, "Oh my God, look at this! The underground city." Yes, it's there. It's not that.
My grandmother, my late grandmother, to make sure that if my living grandmother is listening, not you, the other grandmother was convinced that Dan Brown's based his books on historical reality.
Oh yeah. They are out there.
They are out there.
The Da
And
Vinci
they
Code.
vote.
The Da Vinci Code is not only badly written fiction; it's crap research fiction.
I don't even think there's actual research in there. He was trying to write a book that would sell, and
Oh,
he
it's-
succeeded in it.
Yeah.
It's based on a con. It's
Yeah.
it's there. I've actually, because I've read the con I've read the evidence that was
Mhm.
placed by the con artist in to further his con.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of internet idiots seized on it and have built this wonderful
World.
hmm
kludgy reason for existing.
Well, it's and it's not like this is a new thing either,
No.
because I mean, if you go back, we have the who was the guy that had the wild pyramid theories? Can't remember German name.
Eric von Daniken.
Van
And
Daniken.
they,
That's
yeah.
what. So, and then you go
30
back
minutes,
further than
30
that,
minutes with a cactus and some pepper juice.
and you get into the Victorian era. You
Yeah.
had some real whoppers, and you go back further than that,
Yeah.
and you get Roger Bacon of alchemy fame stating that mares could become pregnant by scenting stallions.
Yeah.
I kid you not, it's in his book. And you would think that they would know better, because we might not have had germ theory in the 1200s, but
Yeah.
we
Okay.
certainly knew what made things pregnant.
Yes, he copy pasted Holy Blood, Holy Grail, but that's also based on the same fraudulent documents.
Yeah.
There was a French con artist, and I'd have to go back check my notes. There's a French con artist who wrote this list of the fathers of the Prior of Sion and snuck it into the French archives.
Yeah.
And then paid somebody to discover it. And it had a list of the folks. And then he had clues in this list that sent him other places where he'd snuck, and he used this whole network of bullshit to attempt to make some money.
Yeah.
Which has been a thing that has been done
For
Time and
about,
time
for
again.
about 10,000
so-
years.
since recorded history.
Yes.
They've had records. People have paid to sneak bullshit in there. So this guy, and it was a big hullabaloo. It was a list of the scions of or whatever, and going back proved that Mary was
Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
different. No, that's a different.
But that's another one.
That's
But
another one.
But these things are not uncommon.
But the guys that wrote Holy Blood, Holy Grail, what pisses me off about them was they knew it was bullshit
They wrote
and
it
ran
in.
with and then when you can watch interviews and they're saying, "Well, we're not saying it's true."
Well, and this is the thing, is you
Yeah.
see this, people want to believe something, and so they will snag on to whatever it is, however wildly improbable, and then
They
it
want to
doesn't,
believe. There's
and-
stuff to believe in.
and
not
then
that
it
bullshit.
doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you show them that what they are saying is wrong.
And what really frosts the cockroaches in my tiny little heart is the same idiots that believe this bullshit will tell you the moon landing was faked. They will believe that there's an unbroken line from Mary, Mother of God, down to some schmuck in Paris.
Because
Unbroken.
Of course he's in Paris.
Yeah, of course. And that the Templars put secret code in these churches that people had to move several thousand miles. Anyway, but then they'll tell you that the moon landing was faked.
Stanley Kubrick filmed on scene, though.
Yes, because he insisted on accuracy.
Yeah.
So
The thing is, this has been around a long time. We've also seen, and Deborah's kind of semi alluded to it, the creatures of the deep. There are things that exist in the deep water.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
that's why NASA exists, because we need to get the hell away from the ocean.
But the super kraken
hmm
or giant squid, they do
Yeah.
exist.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of things that exist.
they
The ocean's
are-
huge.
Deep water. And occasionally one of them will get up shallow enough to get caught.
Yeah.
They'll get shallow enough to die.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the other problem.
right? Because if
Yeah.
they're habituated to, they're adapted to the depths. If
Yeah.
they come up shallow to the point where we can actually see them,
They literally go
not.
boom.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and we just the last Master Naturalist meeting I went to, the guy was talking about
Yeah.
the coelacanth and what happened with the rediscovery of this extinct quotes creature. And it is a really cool story. But the thing of it is, the lesson you need to take from that is that there's stuff out there that we don't know what it is or where to find it, but it's down there.
One of the
Yeah.
one of the few truthful memes on Facebook that actually kicks over my giggle box is this headline: Australians eating fish previously unknown to science. And there's a comment, that's odd. Usually fish unknown to science eating Australians.
Well,
I'm just
that's the kind of crap that goes on.
there's enough fascinating stuff in archaeology. You don't need to invent the bullshit.
Yeah.
Yes, coded iconography is a thing. It is. It's a fascinating thing. And there's enough of it that you can get into all the weeds, but you don't have to invent all the bullshit.
Well, and the thing with unknown species, and a lot of people live in cities
Yeah.
or suburbs, very heavily crowded areas, lots and lots of people around.
Live.
They don't realize the vast majority of them, especially the internet dwellers in their mother's basement eating Cheetos naked on the beanbag,
Yeah.
have no idea how large the world is.
Yeah.
What?
Our visually oriented
That's a
person.
direct quote from Ron White. That is not, I did not invent that. But they don't realize how large the world is.
Yeah.
And they've never been out in a real wilderness. They think that going to the park
Is
is
wilderness, yeah.
wilderness.
Well,
And-
in New York it is, but it's not a different kind.
Yeah.
That's a whole different kind of wild.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in urban areas, we're finding things because people don't look.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
It's amazing how people actually do not look.
Yeah.
I had a post on my blog where Lake Gordon here in Owl Park, I was walking around it. And I was walking along, there was this, I'd say about a 24-inch grass snake curled up right by the path. And I'm watching people go by.
Yeah. Never saw it.
Never, and I walk up and say, "Here, little buddy, go out in the water."
The hilarious thing is being out with a group of master naturalists, 80% of whom are ladies of a certain age.
Yeah.
Someone spots a snake and there is a stampede. And the snake's like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. Run away!
Well, it's like the, I've told the story about the pyroclastic vent down off Chile.
Hmm.
You can hear it off California. You can hear it off Alaska. There are these things called sound channels. Sound bounces through the water. It can carry for thousands of miles.
and it has snails that excrete iron plates onto their own skin.
Yes.
Sorry.
There are things that live 15,000 feet down.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that we have no description of because by the time they were recovered, they went bluey.
Yeah.
Well, so you're trying to piece, where did that piece go? It's the ultimate puzzle for the scientist.
It is.
Well, and we're also, I've done a series of, or a couple of posts on this. We're teaching people not to look. I did a post about in defense of free range childhood about growing up in Africa, or one part of growing up in Africa, and how Warri, when we were there, was 70,000 people. It's 1 point something million now. And the Odibo states on the Substack, you can see a current satellite photo of it. And the space where Chris and I roamed, and that was, honest to God, rainforest.
Yeah.
With things with appetites. And the the DMs I get on Substack, how did your parents were,
you grew up someplace where there were 70,000 people around. I
Yeah.
grew up in a place where there was
there were 70,000 people 5 miles that way.
Yeah.
right. Well, I grew up in a place where there were population of about 2,500 people in a 1,200 square mile area, size of New Hampshire and
Yeah.
Vermont put together. Now, most of those were clustered right around Tok, Alaska, but we lived 5 miles outside of Tok, and on one side of the road, you could walk for 5 miles and finally
Mhm.
get into town, and you might see a few houses on the way.
Yeah.
On the other side of the road, you could just keep walking.
Yeah.
Until you got up somewhere in the Arctic.
Yeah.
And it was highly unlikely you'd actually see people in that if you survived it, which you would not.
Yeah.
So we ran wild in those woods, and there was nobody out there. We knew where the wolf pack's range
Yeah.
was, and we knew to stay out of that. And bears, generally that far from people, are not going to be interested.
But we had leopards and bush lions and
Mhm.
hippos and crocs because it was all rainforest and swamp. And we roamed.
Yeah.
And it engenders a certain level of observation in the survivors. So Chris and I and Julie, my little sister, we notice things. And I look around and there's a whole bunch of Americans that walk right by the rattlesnake.
Well, because their training isn't the rattlesnake. It's the shady guy standing in front of the convenience store when you pull up to try and pump gas.
Jim and I were walking to a at St. Louis, Missouri, whatever, NRA show. We are walking from the NRA show to a place to eat, and we're counting the drug deals that people are walking by. They weren't noticing the drug deal. It's like la la la.
Yeah.
Drug deal. Oh, prostitution. He's getting a road number.
Yeah. And it's people are that blind.
No, I know.
But the other side of the coin too, you get in caves. We have had cave divers come out with fish that are totally transparent, that are blind.
Yeah. There's no reason for them to have eyes because there's no light.
And
To
there's no
use.
color to them.
Mhm.
They're transparent because they don't need color to hide.
Right. Adaptation is amazing.
Guess what? They're trout. They're a variant of a trout.
Right. Well, okay, so adaptation happens shockingly quickly.
Yes.
In as little as 8 generations, and arguably even faster than that, although then we start to get into epigenetics.
Yeah.
But the paper that I've written on extensively, the butterflies ad astra is a thing that I've published on it, is basically a study of cabbage white butterfly population that was kept in cages because
Yeah.
they're a very common agricultural pest.
Yeah.
So they had these butterflies that they were studying, and the rapidity that the adaptation happened that changed their external characteristics, their flight patterns, their reproductive patterns, 8 generations.
Yeah.
And if you look at 8 generations back from where we are now, you are still not very far back in human history.
Right.
And when you have populations that are separated by any kind of distance with your trout, where there's no genetic back and forth, when we look at human genomes now and we're looking at how much they're finding of the ancient DNA that is still being carried through in human
Yeah. populations,
because humans don't discriminate about who they breed with.
Yeah.
Anybody that's had to shepherd a shit ton of enlisted military understands that to the
Yeah.
Is it
depths,
carbon based?
to the depths of their soul.
So the thing is that human adaptation is an interesting thing because about 4 generations ago, give or take a generation, we saw the explosion of the capacity for global travel.
Mhm.
And that meant that you aren't looking at potential speciation events. However, when we get off this mud ball and start exploring to
Yeah.
the stars, that's no longer going to be the case, and it's going to get really interesting really quickly.
There's another Facebook meme I absolutely adore, and it's a scientist saying you cannot fuck alien life, and it's a Marine grinning saying, "Not with that attitude, you can't."
And on that note, folks, we've wasted another hour of your time plus. So we're going to quit before that one goes any further downhill. Richard, in answer to your question, no, they were just flat friggin' missing it. They weren't ignoring it. They didn't even realize what they were
No, they
seeing.
didn't. Body language said they didn't. They didn't know.
Yeah.
The people we're talking about didn't even. Body language said they didn't even notice.
Tiff, that's good news. Yes. Glad you're home. And remember, folks, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff.
Tuesday, I'll be less bound up.
Maybe.
Yeah, right. And we'll see you next week.
Shock
this one
absorbers.
went-
Shock absorbers under the
This one
pyramids.
went
Boinky,
even more
boinky,
off the
boinky.
rails than usual.
Oh,